Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with Laura, who's also known as Unapologetically Me on Twitter, which I have a link for down below, and also a link to her YouTube channel, which it looks to me like you started that fairly recently, and you're slowly but surely adding more and more content to it. Is that right?
Yep, brand spanking new YouTuber. So when you watch my videos and they're terrible, go ahead and leave those comments below. I'm good.
Yep, fix this, do that, you should try this, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get them.
I'll learn. Yep.
You'll get them. No doubt about that. But anyways, Laura, what I do is I talk to people about their journeys away from whatever belief systems they were once a part of. And I know that this is a little bit on the special side because you were into a couple of different ones at least. So why don't you kind of take us back to the early days when you were in one and you sort of had issues with it and found your way into another one, and then eventually how you found your way out of the second one as well into the atheist activist that you are today.
Into the wonderful world of atheism. Yeah. So what's funny about my story is I didn't start out religious. Like, I was raised in a secular household. So how I got myself all tangled up into one religion and then tangled up into another is kind of interesting, and it might be kind of a long story, so stop me if I get a little bit too long-winded. It may take more than that. No, it'll be fine. No, but I got into Christianity at the same time that I was leaving my ex, with whom I have my oldest son. So it was kind of one of those depressed, wandering, needed to be rooted kind of things. And I wandered into my friend's church, and they provided the community that I super desperately needed at that time. So for me, my conversion to Christianity at the time, it was perfectly rational, made sense. I was doing my studying, knew what I was getting into. What
about because we often say we don't really choose our beliefs, we are convinced by something, right? So what about it convinced you to want to be a part of it?
So I think honestly, it was feeling that sense of I was kind of wandering and didn't think that I was a very good person. I didn't feel like I was running my life the way I was supposed to, which happens when you're in the middle of a breakup and have children involved and you're starting all over.
Sure.
So for me, it was grounding, and the community was really just supportive and fun, and I enjoyed being around them. And you hear this a lot, they kind of get you with the love of Jesus message, and the come to our potluck, and the come do this and come do that with us.
Wait,
and
food? I'm there.
Right? Yeah, I'm one of those people. And honestly, like the God belief itself, it was kind of always there in the background, like even in an atheist household, and it wasn't necessarily atheist, it was more secular. It was more, we don't talk about God one way or the other. So, but God's still kind of there, aunts and uncles sending me Bibles as a little kid and cross-stitching me little prayers to put on my wall, and just part of the community and part of our society. So believing in God wasn't difficult for me. It was embracing the Bible that was difficult for me. And that happened during this conversion time when I got all wrapped up in needing this community to make me feel better. And it might be a little bit disingenuous because that's looking at it in hindsight, like how the fuck did I end up there? What was going through my head? And really that's what it was, is going through depression and an emotional sort of disaster, and they were there for me, and it made me feel really, really good. So there it was. I embraced the Bible, and my thoughts were, well, it feels so right, and the community is so great, and what they're doing is so great that I'm sure the more and more I study it, I'm sure that it's all going to line up and it will all make sense. And because it's true, reality will back it up. So there was a lot of arrogance there too. Yeah. So that caused me to not question my beliefs for a good few years. I mean, I was Christian for about 10 years, and then Muslim for about maybe around 4. But that 10-year period, it was less about studying and figuring out what's right and wrong, and more about trying to live a good, godly life. So it was going to Bible studies, doing the Sunday school thing, raising my children the best that I could in the name of Jesus. And if I'm sarcastic, that's me. So you're going to get a lot of that. Yeah, where was I with that? Oh, like the Bible studies and the school and stuff. So the doubts really crept in slowly, like over the years. First, it was my husband made like an offhand comment, like, I don't understand why people always refer to God as the father. He's in a bad relationship with his father, but he's like, I read the Bible and I just don't get it. And at the time I dismissed it like, well, maybe the father figure imagery doesn't work for you. But that planted a little seed of doubt. And so then it was first challenging, well, maybe God the Father is just someone's interpretation and it's popular, but that's not really what he is in the Bible. That's not how he's portrayed. So I'll just let go of that one. And anytime people referred to him as the Father, that's fine. That's their interpretation and I'm good. And then it was little things. Oh, go ahead.
You think about it, God claims we're his children. This alleged deity claims that we're his children. So the whole father thing, I mean, you've even got the prayer, our Father who art in heaven, blah, 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 blah. Right?
Yeah. I think what it is for me is the role of a father. Like in the Bible, if God is the father, he's an abusive one. He's not like, I mean,
fuck yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And again, that's more in hindsight. At the time, I definitely didn't view his actions that way. But I understood why people refer to him as the father. And I also understood how when you read the Bible straight through, it's not a very fatherly relationship. It's right. I don't know. It's a lot more. I saw him as more of a, here's this commanding figure in your life that's telling you what's right and wrong. And you want to do right, right? So just do what he says. And less of like, oh, I'm going to follow him because I have this really deep fatherly relationship with him. I don't know. It was just one of the first things that kind of went with me. And then the next thing was whether or not the Bible is the inerrant word of God. And that one was really tough for me to swallow. Especially if you read it from cover to cover, or if you read Genesis from chapter 1 to chapter 2, and it's just the inconsistencies, the way that it presents reality in terms of myth. I think what I struggled the most with is I'd already taken a world religions class, and I had concluded all religions have so much stuff in common, but none of them land on the truth. And what I was seeing in the Bible was it looks just like any other religion. And if I'm going to reject all the other religions, why am I accepting this one? At the time, it was because I was convinced, well, those are all misunderstandings, or people got it wrong, or they didn't listen to God, or whatever those, different, what do you call it? Like different justifications are. But eventually it sunk in that, well, maybe the words in the Bible aren't God's words. Maybe they're man's words interpreting what God had to say, and they're doing it within their own. Yeah. And so it was this weird, twisted, and I think a lot of people actually do this to hang on to different faith systems, is you twist it and turn it and reinterpret it and reject that, just so you can stay whatever, Christian, Muslim, Hindu. And so I did that big time. It was like the Church of Laura. So that was the next thing to kind of go. But I still really felt like I was Christian. I still really felt like there was a God, and I still felt that he talked to us and that it all made sense. And then I was asked one day later on by my brother, well, how do you interpret Jesus' crucifixion? Like, do you interpret it as a sacrifice? Do you interpret it as Jesus is God, as the Son of God. And I hadn't really thought of it before. I just accepted it kind of blindly. But in that moment, I had this epiphany that I didn't actually agree with the crucifixion. And I didn't know that. So the explanation I gave him was, well, Jews were following all these extra laws that the Sadducees were doing, and they weren't following Judaic law. So Jesus came to get them back on track, but the crucifixion was to end the need for animal sacrifices. I mean, it was a really twisted explanation that still put Jesus as a man and forced that story into reality, like what's realistic. And I didn't even, it was just a reinterpretation that came off the top of my head, but it stuck with me. Like Jesus was no longer God to me at that moment. So it was just more sliding like further and further away from the core doctrines that actually make you a Christian.
Sure. What about the resurrection? How did you feel about that story?
Yeah, you know what's weird is I didn't put those two things together during that conversation. Like, why is that important? So I can't even tell you what I would have thought about that at the time, because it would have been a huge contradiction, right? Or at least it would have been confusing. Why did he need to be resurrected? I imagine I would have said something like, well, other people were taken up to heaven with God, or probably something like that. But
well, that's,
yeah,
I think that story in and of itself is one of the, has a lot of the most of the contradictions within the different gospels.
Oh, absolutely. If you read them, they're 4 completely different stories. I mean, I know there's a lot of overlap here and there, but there's things that are completely missing.
I think is it Mark's was the first one, and then they just copied off, or one of them anyways had the first one. They had sort of just copied ideas from him and then added their own twist on them, which they ultimately didn't realize fucked everything up.
Right. They didn't realize that it just stops making sense. Well, and wasn't there only one book that mentioned the earthquake, which I think is kind of a big deal?
Yeah, because there's no record of it.
Yeah, no record of it, and the other books don't mention it. Like, chances are the person who wrote it just wanted to kind of maybe elaborate a little or make it more exciting.
Allegedly, the earthquake was to explain how the rock moved away from the grave, or something like that, from the tomb. Or
no, it happened after he was on the cross and he died, and then there was an earthquake. There's something about raising zombies from. It's been years since I've read the Bible all the way through, so definitely not the expert anymore.
Yeah.
But just a whole bunch of garbage about the dead rising and Jerusalem falling, and now I'll have to go back and read it so I'm not putting a bunch of misinformation out there. Don't quote me on it, anybody.
All right, there you go. It's the Jerusalem Walking Dead.
Yeah, that would be an awesome movie.
They already did it.
No, but what's that?
They already did one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go check it out.
It's horrible. It's one of those from your camera angle, like fucking that.
Like the Blair Witch Project.
Kind of like the Blair Witch, but more so like that one, the Cloverfield. That's the one I'm thinking of, where they're all running around with a camera. Yeah.
That can either work for or against a movie. I don't know.
Yeah, well, as long as you not get motion sickness, you're okay.
Yeah, I don't do too much of it. Yeah.
Frustrated Atheist says that verse with the earthquake is in Matthew. So there you go.
Oh, perfect. Maybe he could tell us if it's in any other one, because I think that's the one that's only in one of the Gospels and not all 4 of them. But I also did, when I first converted away from Christianity into Islam, which I'll get to, but I did like a side-by-side comparison of the tomb scene. And I wrote columns, from each book, and I wrote the tomb scene in order, and then the other ones, and wrote them in order. And I remember a pastor had like this really what I thought was a perfect explanation for how all these different things go together, and it's just different points of view, but when you put them together, it's a whole story. And like, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Mm-hmm. But when you actually do that on a piece of paper where you write them out, there's absolutely no way they can all be the same story, or else he would have had to have risen like 3 or 4 times. So yeah, it was really interesting stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Frustrated said, yeah, it's only in Matthew.
it's only in Matthew. Okay. Yeah, which is kind of a big deal. Oh, and I talk really quick naturally. So if you notice that I'm talking quickly, say, slow it down, and I'll talk at like half speed. But okay, so all these doubts started lining up. I started to question not whether or not I was a Christian or not, but whether or not everybody else had the right interpretation of the Bible, right? So I was so eager to hang on to this God concept. Maybe because God to me was such a comfort, like a safety blanket at that point, maybe. And so as I kept hitting all these different contradictions and finding different things, like different interpretations I didn't agree with, my conclusion was just, well, there's however many billions of Christians, and that's how many versions of Christianity there are. So if mine's a little different, then so be it. And I really wasn't looking to change religions or go exploring. I was just content to say that I was a Christian that interpreted things differently. And I really arrogantly thought that the more I researched and the more I researched, the more it would line up with reality and history and science and all that. So I did temporarily get hooked on Kent Hovind and the what was that series that he did with the Young Earth? He did a whole series of videos on Young Earth creationism. Yeah. Maybe someone could put it in the chat.
That guy.
Oh, he's such garbage. But this was like, it was one of those, like, the family members said, hey, you should watch these videos. These are pretty good. And that was back when they were on, I don't remember if it was DVD or VHS, but it definitely wasn't on the internet at that point. So went and checked those out, and I started buying it. It was like, you know what? Maybe we don't know that much about geology, and maybe we don't know that much about the age of all these different fossils. And I don't know, maybe the Grand Canyon was created by the Great Flood. That's pretty good evidence to me, right? Because you're not a geologist. And so, yeah. But
I know some.
Really, well, and what really sucked is people really should be looking into what the experts say, not what some dude in a conference room says to his followers. So if I was really, really interested in lining Christianity up with science, I really should have been asking scientists. But I think just like the average person, you see a video or you hear your pastors talk and it makes sense. And you're like, okay, that's cool, right? Maybe our Earth is only 6,000 years old. And I don't think I believed it very long, but I remember feeling like the videos were really compelling, like they were making good arguments. So if I walk away with anything, it will be that I'm compassionate for those people that still actually believe that bullshit. Anyway, so throughout my Christian walk, I decided I really wanted to be more of a sort of activist. I wanted to be not activist in the sense that out there doing social activism, but I wanted to be a part of the church and a part of communities and stuff. So I was helping with children's ministry. I was doing Bible studies and women's groups. And then I joined, because I was in the National Guard this whole time, I switched career fields and joined the chapel, and I became a chaplain assistant. And I was going to spread love and help people and put on services and throw Easter parties. And my whole thing was like, I was going to spread the love, and I was going to like help make people happy in the name of Jesus. And so off I went to training to be a chaplain assistant, and that takes 6 weeks. So I was gone for 6 weeks, and all the people there were predominantly Christian. There was a few atheists. There was, I think there was someone there that was Jewish. If not, it was from a previous class and there was some overlap. But one of the chaplains was Muslim. And like most Christians, we were all like really, really curious about him and curious about like what he believed and like most people who hit me with this, it was the whole like, why on earth would you be a Muslim? Right. So
they're probably thinking, why on earth would you be a Christian?
Why would you be a Christian? Well, this guy's story is super interesting because he was a former Christian.
Ah.
So yeah, he was an American, converted to Islam in his teens from Catholicism.
How do you convert from American?
No, converted from Catholicism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, but a lot of people have this perception that if you're Muslim, you're from another country. Like I used to get asked that question, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, America. Oh, where's your husband from? America. So there's definitely a perception out there. But
yep.
Yeah. So he was getting tons and tons of questions from individual people. And I recommended, well, if we all have so many questions, why don't we just ask him if we could sit down for a round table and go into one of the conference rooms and he can just talk to us about Islam. We can ask him all his questions at once instead of always hitting him from all these different angles. And he agreed. And we all set up a time. And he sat down and said, okay, before I tell you anything about Islam, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. And he started going over, born and raised in America, had a Catholic family, had these issues with the Bible. And when I was a teenager, and I can't remember how he got exposed to the Quran, but somehow he did, and he converted. And that pricked my ears up because like everybody else, there's this perception that, oh, he was probably Muslim his whole life. So instantly I'm already paying attention. And then he starts kind of comparing back and forth. Well, Christianity and Islam are actually very, very similar. They're both Abrahamic faiths, which I didn't know at the time. Like I thought it was its own separate Eastern religion. I had no idea that it,
It's kind of like the Star Wars trilogy. You get the A New Hope, the Empire State, well, you get Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
And Mormonism and Sikhism.
Those are the ones we don't talk about.
They don't really count.
Well, no, Sikhism has nothing to do with the Abrahamic religions. Mormonism.
No, but they borrow from. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say
Mormonism spawned off of that, but Sikhism doesn't really take anything from the Abrahamic religions. It's older.
But it pulls, some of its teachings pull, and maybe it's just modern Sikhism. I don't know, but some of its teachings pull from Islam. So they borrow from Islam and I think Hinduism. So I'll double check that. Yeah.
Hinduism is really old. Like it's very old.
Yeah.
Sikhism is a newer tradition.
Many
people that I know here that I work with and stuff, they're Sikhs as well, right? But,
nice.
And they just did with the Hindu religion. They just had the holiday Diwali, which includes fireworks and stuff, which is cool. So
nice.
You heard a lot of them going off around here, but the Sikhs don't really, I don't think, follow that one in particular. It's a light festival, so very much like Hanukkah, which is a festival of lights as well.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Right, with the whole menorah thing and 8 days of candles and potato latkes. See, it's always about the food.
I love latkes.
I know.
Man, I'm gonna join some more religious communities just for the food. Actually, that was one of the things that I miss the most about the Muslim community was food from every flipping country you can imagine. And Moroccan, Egyptian. Man, yeah. Very good food.
I lived over that way for quite a few years and
in Morocco, or?
Well, this in Israel, but visited all sorts of other places.
Yeah.
And it was the food over there. Middle Eastern food is just so much flavor.
Phenomenal.
All right.
Oh, definitely by far one of my favorite ethnic foods. Yeah.
Lebanese food was really good too. I remember that.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about the imam, the chaplain that was in training. So he starts talking about the comparisons between Islam and Christianity, and he says things that pretty much hit on every single one of my objections to Christianity. So here I am, this girl that still has a God belief, that still believes God somehow communicates with us, but that we fuck it up and get it wrong and pop out all these scriptures that are screwed up. So he starts describing, well, Christianity, they believe the Bible is the inerrant word of God. In Islam, we believe that it is a scripture, but that man has corrupted it. So we no longer have it in its original form. So any form that you read.
No, the earliest one
Right.
I think that you can even find is the Greek version of it. And it's not the first Greek version of it either.
Right. So it's funny because they're using actual, I mean, that's actually historical. It's historically accurate. But what's even more interesting is that's a very, very
The
original
Bible?
Muslim teaching. No, it's historically accurate to say that when Muslims make the claim that Christians don't have the original copies,
Oh, yeah.
that was known even back in the days when Islam was forming, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So the belief in Islam is that the Jewish scriptures and the Christian scriptures were both originally given to the people from God, and that the people screwed it up and didn't hold true to the word. So God is coming back with Muhammad and spreading the actual word, and that this word will be preserved. So that's why it's so important for Muslims to believe that the Quran is the absolute word for word of God, cannot be changed, because that was the message. And that's why it's so important for Muslims to memorize all the verses and stuff, so that they can pass it on, even if every book is burned. But hearing that, I was like, oh, cool. I think that the Bible is problematic. So keep talking. And then he said, okay, well, Jesus is just a prophet of God, just like Noah and Abraham, and even Adam is considered a prophet of God, like the first prophet of God. So Jesus isn't God himself. He's not part of a Trinity. He was a man that made a living sacrifice. Oh, there's no sacrifice in Islam. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. He died because the Jews killed him. Like he came to spread his message. They didn't like it, so they killed him. And so it kind of like voids out the sacrifice altogether. But it doesn't deny that he exists, and it doesn't deny that there was a crucifixion. So that was cool too. So, okay, check. And then the last one was the biggest struggle for me when I was Christian, and it took the most backflips, and that was this whole heaven and hell thing, that you're saved by grace for believing in God, even if you're a bad person, but a good person who doesn't believe in God burns in hell forever, right? Like the most nonsensical piece of shit belief, that Christianity has is this whole heaven and hell and how you get there garbage.
And that stuff isn't even in the Old Testament. There's no heaven and hell.
No. Yeah, because heaven and hell it was invented later, and didn't they borrow it from the Greeks?
Partially the Greeks, yes.
Yeah, and then the Dante's Inferno really started painting pictures about what it looked like, and
that's right.
So yeah, I mean, if you read the historical development of heaven and hell, it really takes all of the fire out of it, so to speak. Like it loses all sense of credibility. But that's all stuff I learned afterward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the feeling, the belief, what's that?
It's a bunch of BS.
Oh yeah. Well,
afterlife isn't even possible according to the laws of physics. So
I know I kept trying to wrap my mind around it, and I haven't quite gotten there. But yeah, and spoiler alert, Islam is just as false, but we'll get there.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? Heaven and hell. So I had a hard time.
I'm going to start singing Black Sabbath in a second here.
Ooh, there you go. Just start playing it in the background. That's good.
Yeah, it's heaven and hell. Oh, well. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Dio was awesome. What can I say?
Oh, Dio. Yeah. My son was listening to them the other day. He's 17 years old. I was like, how'd you run into Dio? But apparently he likes some good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dio is fucking... Yeah. I mean, the two versions of Sabbath that I like are, of course, the Aussie, obviously, is my favorite. And Dio is my second favorite. But I love the old Dio Rainbow stuff and his solo artist stuff. And yeah.
Nice.
He's for such a... Like, the guy was like 4 foot fucking nothing and had this voice.
Oh my God, isn't that
pow.
crazy? Yeah, it's like the guy from the new guy from Journey, the one that took the original singers, but he's like this little itty bitty Filipino dude all over the stage, like super hyper. But yeah, his voice
sounds just like him.
It's just like him. Yeah.
It's uncanny.
Oh yeah, it's funny stuff. Oh, so
all right, where were we?
Yeah, heaven
musical
and hell.
sidetrack. It's heaven and hell.
Yeah. So my thoughts on heaven and hell when I was a Christian was that God can't be that ridiculous and petty. So, and it never bothered me. Like whatever was written in the Bible, whatever people said, never bugged me because, or can he? Yeah.
Can he? I mean, because
I guess he could. Yeah.
Fuck, he killed fucking infants and pregnant women during the flood. So yeah, he can.
I mean, he's a pretty big douchebag. But it's hard for Christians to see that. So give previous me a break. I mean, I wasn't quite there yet.
Okay, sorry.
It took me a while. No, but I remember even as a Christian, I did not believe that innocent, good people could possibly have been sent to hell just because they didn't believe. Like I knew there had to be some sort of loophole or people got it wrong or when Jesus came to save all of us, he literally meant all of us and Christians are just making up that you have to believe. I mean, I had all kinds of justifications, but in Islam, you are literally graded on your deeds. It's like, here's your bad deeds, here's your good deeds, and there's like a cosmic scale, and you go to heaven and hell based on your own actions and who you are as a person. So even though it's still, from an outside perspective, completely fucked up, it made more sense to me. I was like, well, at least he's not sending good people to hell and bad people to heaven. So that, when I heard that explanation.
I heard Jeffrey Dahmer found Christ just before they killed him.
Oh, good. Yeah. So he should be saved. He's good to go.
He's up there with all the people he ate.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's wrong with eating a few people as long as you repent in the end and you listen to your heart? Yeah. So that was like the last hook into like the meat of it, and it really pulled me. The whole there is no salvation through grace. It's salvation through good deeds. And then he told a story about a man who came before God, and God pulled out all his good and bad deeds, and he weighed them. And it was like, it's like that's exactly what the story is. Okay, so they're very flowery, the way the Islamic scholars taught back then, like they're poets, right? So this story is of this man who God stretches out all his good and bad deeds between two towns, right? And his deeds ended up like right in the middle between the two towns. So God stretched one of the towns like further away so that the man would have more good deeds than bad deeds, and he can go to heaven. Right. So it's like he erred on the side of compassion.
He probably had a few drinks. He was feeling a little generous.
Yeah, or he lost a bet and had to. I mean,
I mean, come on, that God wine's got to be fucking awesome, right?
Oh, the stuff that Jesus made.
You know, fuck it. We'll just.
I can't really.
All right, you did more.
Oh, that's what really happened. Yeah.
Tell me I'm nice. All right, I'm nice. Okay, great. You can come in.
Don't make me change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really got me. And whatever he said for the rest of the night, he described Islam, described some of the stories. I remember he did apologetics for the whole child marriage.
Flying horse. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, he didn't even get into that. It was one of the Christians that was there asked the question about it's not Khadijah, it's the little girl. It starts with an A. Like I'm drawing a blank because now here I am on the spot. But the little girl that he married, he had all these apologetics like, well, marriage was a social contract. It doesn't mean he had sex. Blah 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 blah.
Spotlight now.
Right. I should just be Googling all this shit while I'm talking. Hold on. No.
One moment.
Anyway, if anyone knows and wants to throw her name in chat, I do tend to draw blanks when I'm talking on the fly. But
me too, like all the time. So
yeah, and there's a lot to remember between the two religions. I think I've forgotten most of what I knew.
I've forgotten most of what I've known my entire life already. So
for sure. Yeah.
The older you get, Aisha.
That's it. Aisha. Yeah. So she was promised to him at 6 years old.
Russ Googled it.
What's that?
I said Russ Googled it for us.
Oh, thank you, Russ. Yeah, promised to him at 6 years old, and then it depends on. So this is all not in the Quran; it's in hadiths and written history. So there's a lot of interpretation, a lot of conflict and stuff around which ones are credible and which ones aren't. But the story ranges anywhere from 9 to 14 years old before he had sex with her. Either way, that's pretty damn young. But it didn't even matter. He did all those apologetics, explained it, why it wasn't really a bad thing, why it was cultural at the time. And my brain was so like starstruck by the whole, holy shit, like all those things I didn't believe about Christianity, Islam answers those. So I kind of, it was like blinders. It was like I was in love, right? So I call it my love affair with Islam because that's what it felt like. I was kind of like in it so deep and so fast that I couldn't see. It's like if I was dating someone, I couldn't see the red flags, even though they were right there in front of me.
Right.
Yeah. So I pulled him aside after class and I said, or after it wasn't actually a formal class. It was like just a group of us getting together. But I pulled him aside and said, hey, based on some of the stuff you talked about, I really want to sit down and talk to you. I have some questions. And he's like, okay, cool. We'll get together after class tomorrow. We'll sit down and have a talk. And he thought I was going to hit him with Bible verse after Bible verse. And you're wrong about this. And how do you defend that? And so he was kind of preparing himself for this. And he told me this later. And I sat down with him and I said, I think I'm a Muslim. Can you talk to me about this stuff? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, everything you said is what I believe. And clearly that means I'm not a Christian. I'm something else. So I must be a Muslim. And yeah, it was that fast. Wow. So he slowed me down. He's like, hold on. You haven't even read the Quran yet. So just chill a second.
Yeah, that's right. You can't be a Muslim until you've read the Quran.
Right. I don't even know if that's a requirement, but he got me this little like pocket Quran. Like they have them in the military where it's like pocket Bibles and pocket like the Jewish Torahs. So he went and got me a little Quran and I read the whole thing in a matter of like a week. And that was only because I had school and studying to do on top of that. Otherwise it probably would have been like that day. And I took notes of all the verses that I had questions about or that weren't clear to me. And anytime we got a chance between classes, I would hand him this list of verses that I had questions about, and then he would get me back the answers. So it was kind of like I was training to be a chaplain assistant and training to be a Muslim at the same time. So by the time I left tech school, I was ready to cover my hair. I was ready to pray 5 times a day. I was in it, like deep, which scared the shit out of my husband. But yeah, so that's what got me into Islam. I know it just sounds so superficial and ridiculous in hindsight. And the only way I can really justify it is that I didn't realize how close I was to letting go of Christianity, because I really thought I went into tech school as a Christian and I thought I would come out as a stronger Christian, and I came out a whole different religion. And people were floored. They were like, we've never seen this happen before.
Jesus up there going, what the fuck, man? What?
Right. And they were saying they've had like atheists come in as chaplain assistants and leave more religious, or they've had people that were already Christian and leave more convicted. But because you're doing all this studying. So chaplain assistant training is just how to take care of people. It's not religious. There is a section on world religions, like a really quick shotgun section, just to give you a general idea, so that if someone, like if you're a chaplain assistant and someone comes into the chapel and says, I'm a Hindu or I'm Mormon or I'm Buddhist, you kind of have a general idea of how to help them. So other than that, it's all administrative. So
see, I've always thought of atheism in and of itself is, for me anyways, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Once you've seen behind the curtain, there's no turning around. There's no going back kind of thing. I mean, I have heard of atheists returning to religion. I mean, I know one personally. She was a Christian, and then she kind of became an atheist, and then kind of I guess, was going through some hard times, so she turned back to religion, probably for the same reasons
Emotional
you did, for
reasons,
community, emotional support. Exactly. So,
yeah.
and she still calls herself a Christian now, but she's still a great lady and a good friend of ours. Most of the people that are in the chat know her very well as Sassy. So,
oh, cool.
Lee Collins wants to know, do you think some people are more likely to embrace fundamentalism? It's, yeah, I mean, if you're of that mindset, mindset where, and you're a true and through believer, then fundamentalism is not that big of a step from there. If you believe the Bible is inerrant and you believe that it's God's word and all that stuff, then it's not really a tough step from being an average Christian to becoming a fundamentalist, especially if you fall for a lot of the nonsense that the earth is 6,000 years old and stuff like that.
Or still flat.
Yeah.
One thing with the fundamentalist
was
stuff,
it firmament over top with water on the other side?
Yes, because that's how he flooded the earth, was poking holes or tearing open the firmament.
Yeah.
So that must be why we have stars now suddenly. No, one thing I think with fundamentalism is, from the fundamentalist's perspective, you're not that extreme. You're just interpreting the Bible exactly the way it's meant to be interpreted. And all these other people, they just want to have their loose interpretations, or they just want to sin, or they're misled.
Denominations.
Yeah. It's not that unusual to see someone. I remember when I didn't know what's that?
I said, now I'm going to start singing again. It's not unusual.
Oh, no. I love it. Is it dinner and a show, or just a show?
It's not even a show.
God damn it. Oh, I'm in the wrong room. No, but what was I saying with that? Oh, with fundamentalism. I think it's just a matter of interpretation, honestly. Like, it's so stupid to simplify it that way, but I don't think that it takes much to get someone from being like a really loose interpreter to a really hard interpreter. It really depends on what they believe and whether or not they believe it's true, or whether or not they believe it's allegory, or what. Yeah. Yes,
and I've heard Christians speak about specific parts of the Bible as just being, a lesson or allegory or or a metaphor, right? And it's like, well, isn't it supposed to be the Word of God? How could the Word of God just be a metaphor? Like,
right. Well, and then the justification, it's always like one explanation after another. Like, I guess that's why they call it apologetics. But
they're apologizing for their bullshit.
Right. Only they're not very apologetic.
No, that's true.
But what it really is like, then they'll say something silly like, oh, no, it is a metaphor. God did give it to us. He just presented it to us this way because that's the way we'd understand it, which again is problematic, because it's like, yeah, but we don't understand it. Like, he presented it as an allegory to teach us a lesson. Most of us aren't getting the lesson. Yeah. So explain to me how this is a good idea from an all-knowing God. But
right. Well, that's a point that I bring up a lot is, okay, so God is all-knowing. So he already knew ahead of time that Adam and Eve are going to fall in the garden, which literally means the whole thing is a setup. Yep.
Yeah, and he's somehow getting pleasure out of this like torture device that he's put us all in.
It's up there with a bowl of planters nuts going, look at these idiots.
Yeah, right. Like the flood designed to wipe everyone out because they're so bad and so evil and so corrupt, just so we could repopulate the earth and be so bad and so evil and so corrupt. Like, did he not see where this was going before he decided to do that? It doesn't make any sense.
The next punishment apparently is going to be in fire. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
Cosmological scale, our sun will eventually engulf the earth. So
so if we hang it out for the next few billion years, we might get to witness that.
Yep.
And if we're not off this rock by then, which the way things are going now, we won't be.
Right. And allegedly the universe will die in a heat death anyways, which isn't what it sounds like, by the way.
No, it's a very slow, cold, slow death.
It's funny how extreme cold can feel like burning, like extreme heat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't it the same? It's the same nerve sensation, whether you get burned or get something cold. It's the same nerve sensation. So, yeah.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, where was I with the story? Oh, embracing Islam, leaving tech school.
Yep.
Yeah. So, do you want me to fast forward to the end? Because I can probably talk about this for hours. But
We still got 15 minutes. I do want to bring
okay.
up a little bit about why you decided to start a channel and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if you can sort of focus it into a 10 minutes or so, then I'm sure, we can
I
go
could probably do it even quicker than that. Yeah. Because my time as a Muslim isn't really
Don't
as
forget,
important.
we do have an after party too.
Yes, which I'm looking forward to. I have the husband cooking dinner for me, so I don't have to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good husband right there.
Yeah. Oh, he's an awesome man. I mean, he put up with my Muslim years, so what can I say? Okay, so yeah, I did my time as a Muslim. What's that?
He's a keeper.
I don't know if I am, but he is.
I'm sure he wouldn't still be with you if you weren't. So there you go.
That's right. Yeah. If I'm worth putting up with through a Muslim phase, I'm worth putting up with. Just saying.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly.
I like the little ding, like the little coin sound.
That's why you keep seeing this with the coin banner. It's actually a drinking game that has started on my show. So every time you hear the coins, it's the Mario coin. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So every time you hear that, everyone has to take a drink.
So bottoms up. There you go. Okay, so 4 years as a Muslim, and I was in it deep. And what's weird is I can't even really convey how much I really believed that it was the truth. There wasn't any sort of, well, I'm just going to believe blindly, or I didn't really believe, or whatever. Like, I was in it, and I was dead positive that this religion was backed up by history and science, and that the more I looked for the answers, the more I would find God. And so it was okay. Oh, and that's another thing. In Islam, you're supposed to ask questions. Like, you're supposed to study and know your Quran and know your history. And like, you're considered more faithful when you're a studied Muslim, because you're not considered a fool, right?
Sure.
So it was like, game on, like, here, go study, go question this. Whereas with Christianity, it was more like, could you stop asking those questions? You just take it on faith. So having that encouragement, like, it was go time. And I was really, really, really convinced that it was the truth. So I get a few years down the line, and my husband and I hit marriage problems, it was 8 years into our marriage. So it was about time for some problems. And like, I'm all nonchalant about it. So during that time, we separated for a little bit, and I was going through a lot of emotional stuff, and I started to kind of realize what was important and what wasn't important to me. And I started really focusing on my health and my fitness, like eating well and that kind of stuff, and less on the religion and the studying and stuff. And so I started working out with a female friend of mine. I was one of those ones that like worked out with like long sleeve shirt and a little hijab on, and unless we were in like our own home, but if it was at the gym, I was always covered up. And she invited me to a dance class, and I loved it. And it was like back to old Laura, who was able to express herself and like shake her hips a little bit and move around on the dance floor. So I adored it, but I still dressed fully, like head to toe Muslim.
Right.
And she pulled me aside one day and was like, you can uncover, it's not a big deal. Nobody's staring at you. Nobody cares. Like, nobody gives a shit. Like, it's no big deal. Do it. So
watching.
Yeah, right. But I must have been already doubting, because I was like, you're right. Why would God care if I'm in a fitness class and I'm wearing clothes that are comfortable, that don't overheat me? You know, like, I'm not picking up dudes. So
that's for you, by the way. She's ex-Christian and ex-Muslim. That's my very good friend Nakasuchi, who runs the channel The Rage.
Nice.
And they do an Apostate Alliance show. And I think it'd be kind of cool if you popped in for one of those. So I will connect the two of you via Twitter.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
Rage,
that whole apostate thing.
If you if you go to my, or you see my announcement about this show, you'll find her Twitter handle there, and you can go right over and send her a message. Right?
That'd be awesome.
The power of the internet.
Yeah, I love it. Just put yourself out there a little bit, and then people start pulling you in, and then it's like, oh, now you're really in it. You just wanted to play in the sandbox. Now you're all in. So, yeah. But no, that apostate thing does kind of scare me a little bit, because I haven't had any negative repercussions from any of my Muslim community. But you
I
hear
wouldn't
what
worry
people
about
say online, and you hear what people are doing in like France,
yeah.
and yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, am I going to get myself in trouble? You know, I mean, I doubt it. I don't. Obviously, it's not stopping me. I'm doing it anyway. But yeah, that thought has occurred to me. But
I mean, I know many ex-Muslims myself, like Zara K and Armin Navabi.
yeah,
Uh,
uh-huh.
who Armin's been raising some shit recently with the whole Hindu goddess. What is it? Kali or something. And she's the
Oh
sexy
yeah.
goddess, and
I
he's been
mean,
portraying her as the sexy goddess. So people have just been shitting all over him for that. And
oh
really, folks,
no.
it boils down to freedom of speech, and that's included.
Yeah. And as long as he can take the shit, then I say go for it. Like,
Oh, he's
I'm
dishing
still
it out.
building my thick skin, so I'm careful still.
Yeah.
But I'm getting there. I test the waters every once in a while, and then it's like, okay, eventually I'll be able to be really offensive and not give a shit if I lose all my subscribers. All like 40 something of them. But yeah, so
yeah, that's right. And Faye the Most Gracious is another one.
what does Faye say?
Ex-Muslim. She's
Oh,
another
nice.
ex-Muslim. I've had all three of them on the shows at different points.
That's cool. It'll be really neat to connect to some of them because it'd be really neat to hear their experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Rage can definitely get you in touch with other Muslims so you can hear and swap stories and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's
and kind of network and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Mimsy. Yeah. I know many. I've had apostate. What's his name? Ridvan is his actual name. But yeah, anyway, there's lots of them out there, man. Just start searching out Muslim channels, and you'll find tons of them.
Oh, no. And the more that people get out there and talk, the better it is. The more Absolutely. I think that the more powerful the message is. So that's really good. But so really quick, because I see we only have a few more minutes. Like my exit out of Islam was almost as like abrupt and arbitrary as my entrance into it. And that was honestly, it was continuing with this dance class, like one step after another. I realized it started with, does God really care if I cover up? Like my interpretation of both the Adam and Eve story in both the Bible and in Islam was that they were created naked, right? Oh, and in Islam, God gave them clothes right away. So the modesty was like there from the get-go.
Right. And it doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that women have to wear hijabs. It just says people should dress modestly. That's all.
Yes. And the whole idea of modesty was don't flaunt yourself in people's faces, right? Don't
Why? I do that all the time. They hate that on the bus.
And the hijab thing is mostly where it's mostly interpreted from is when Muhammad told his wives to cover, but the reason he did that was to separate them from other Muslims. Like when people would walk down the street, they would know that those are Muhammad's wives. Don't mess with them. They're off limits, right? So if he wanted his wives to cover up and be different from the other Muslims, I think there was already like sort of an expectation there that the other Muslims weren't covered. But that again is a hindsight realization rather than something that made sense at the time. But yeah, once I let go of the hijab, it was a very, very, very quick sliding scale of, well, if it says this and he doesn't care about this, then he probably doesn't care about that. He probably doesn't care. And do I really have to pray 5 times a day? What if I prayed twice a day? Do I really have to pray at all? Right? And
here's another weird thing about the whole praying 5 times a day. You're supposed to pray in the towards Mecca, right? Which is east, they say. That's actually not true. You actually have to look through the planet to see Mecca.
Right.
Yeah. You have to, pray downward.
Look down. But I mean, that's what you're doing every time you pray anyway, right? Is you're putting your head on the ground and praying down. So maybe it doesn't matter what direction you're pointed in.
I suppose.
I don't know. But yeah, suddenly it just became ridiculous to me. Suddenly, instead of doing something that I felt passionate about and I felt like I was being a good person and doing good things, it suddenly felt like I was just locking myself up and stopping myself from expressing who I was. And I was doing it voluntarily of my own free will, like shutting myself in and shutting myself down. And once I realized that, it was really easy to let go of all the rest of the beliefs. Yeah. So my very unscientific approach to Christianity and Islam and atheism.
When did you figure you probably first called yourself an atheist?
Oh man, it was a while. So I've been out of religion probably a little over 3 years now, and I just started like formally calling myself a Muslim or an atheist. Maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. Because at first those labels just weren't important to me. I was like, I need to stop labeling myself. I label myself Christian and I'm wrong, and then Muslim and I'm wrong, right? So no more fucking labels for this one. I'm just gonna be who I am. And then there was a point where I realized this isn't important. This is a big deal. And knowing what you believe is a big deal.
Descriptors, really.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And they're very useful descriptors when they give information to people, when you're the one labeling yourself. When someone else labels you, they can be very destructive. They can be harmful. But when you're embracing a label, it's very powerful.
You're embracing it because it does describe you. So, which is why we tend to embrace certain labels, right? I embrace the atheist label. I embrace the humanist label, the skeptic label.
Me too. Yep.
So I like to think that I'm skeptic in most ways. I used to believe all kinds of nutty shit like ghosts and crystal healing and pyramid power and all that garbage.
Oh yeah.
And my last guest, who was Jessica Schaub, was my one I had on Saturday.
Oh, and
she is an ex, woo-woo guru. She was like pushing all that crystal healing and stuff like that. She doesn't really. I mean, she calls herself more of a non-theist than an atheist.
So not embracing a God belief, but not denying a God belief.
Well, she says she can't embrace or deny because the knowledge of God isn't there, because nobody really knows that there actually is one. That's what I try. I said, how about agnostic? She goes, no, not really agnostic. I said, apatheist, because you don't really seem to care. She goes, well, no, not really apatheist. I'm like, you're just undecisive, lady.
Yeah. Well, people like their own labels. It's like, I just took an anthropology of gender class, and you read some of the different genders, and I was like, I could be that one. I can be that one too. Holy crap, I can be that one too. Right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
So, and they're so similar and so nuanced. And I think what it really is people don't like something that someone else has applied to that label. So maybe she doesn't like what someone else applied to agnostic, but she's comfortable with the non. So I get it. Like it makes sense to me, but
I missed the coins, people. It happened a couple seconds ago.
Bottoms up.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, labels, we use them when necessary.
Yeah.
And we tend to apply our own labels to ourselves and pretty much disregard what anyone else wants to label you as. Unless they're positive labels. Like if somebody says, hey, dude, you're a total fucking cool ass secular humanist. I'm like,
hell yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I like being flexible with labels too. I like being able to say one day, like, yeah, I'm an atheist one day, but then, oh, thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Don't have high expectations yet. I'm brand new.
Derek's a good guy. He'll like whatever you put in.
Okay, cool. Well, thumbs up them all. Like yeah. So yeah, labels. I don't know. Just got to keep them flexible.
Did you happen to, by any chance, before actually calling yourself an atheist, did you happen to stumble down the rabbit hole of atheist videos like Aaron Ra, or Sam Harris, the Atheist Experience? Did you end up finding any of those on YouTube, which kind of helped you along, or?
Yes and no. Yeah. So I got really, really geeky. Like once I dropped all the religious studies, I started just picking up things that were interesting to me. I started with Neil deGrasse Tyson, Lawrence Krauss, Michio, what's his last name?
Michio Kaku.
Yeah, him. Yep. And Brian Greene and all those. I geeked out. But I wasn't looking into any sort of atheism or atheist community or anything. I just wanted to know the science.
They'll start showing up though.
So they did. So that you nailed it. So I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson, and on the right-hand side was Seth Andrews. And so I clicked on one of Seth Andrews' videos, and he fucking hooked me. Like that dude. Yeah. Yeah. And Aaron Ra. He was another one.
Such a good guy. Yeah, Aaron too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know them both.
And I'm jealous.
Seth doesn't drink, but I've drank lots with Aaron. Hung out with Seth a bit and had him on, of course, on the show. Hey, Puck. Yeah. There's one of my co-hosts of the Nonprofits just showed up.
I spoke with him. I love that guy. That guy's cool.
Yeah, but we got to do something about that flock of seagulls hair that he's got going on there.
Yeah, to each his own.
And I ran just pucking with you.
Oh, that's so punny. You guys are so
know.
cute.
I know. Puck's good people. He's a co-host with me on the Nonprofits. And actually, that's actually, you know what, Laura, I say we should take the rest of this conversation into an after party. And we can have some other input, right? Why not, right?
Totally. And, we hit that hour. Let's do it.
Totally. We've gone past it a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's all good. It's all good. But let's do that. Let's get into an after party.
Okay.
And if anyone out there would like to join Laura and myself, please let me know through Twitter DMs or the Facebook Messenger if you're not on Twitter. And Puck always, it's funny. He says Puck present. And I'm like, he always says present, but he never shows up with any presents.
Oh, asshole!
Right? Nice. And Puck, we'd love to have you in the after party if you're up for it.
Yes, we would.
So I just want to thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you, and you had quite the story.
Was fun. Yeah, thank you so much for letting me do this.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
This is my first live chat, so now I know kind of how it goes and what it feels like, and it's been fun.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that you enjoyed yourself. I always try to make these, little levity here and there, because a lot of times I've spoken to people that have been pretty much hurt by, family members that drop them or friends that drop them, that kind of shit, right? So, and those are the ones that always kind of make me like when I had Eric Murphy on, and he was telling me about first of all, him and I connected right away because we were both adopted. So then we had the whole story about meeting the family, and his wasn't so good and mine was okay.
Yeah.
And then it led into the being abandoned by people that were still believers and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a tearjerker. It's also probably my most watched video. There's
a lot of pain out there. I have my own stories. Maybe we can take it into private chat. Maybe they're just not that important, but it kind of sucks. Like how many people have been hurt through the whole transition process. Like it's just unnecessary.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 coins, people. It happens. It'll go bing, bing, and then you got a drink, and it's like, I don't know, fucking. This one's almost empty. So.
Oh no! I've been sipping on mine. That way it lasts. You are prepared.
Always. Guys, if any of you would like to join Laura and myself, please let me know, and I will send you a link. Except for Russ, he's not allowed in. There's a little bit of a
I remember Russ is cool in chat. You gotta let
Russ is cool. I'm fucking with him. He's always good. He was my very, very, very first interview on this channel.
Oh, yeah, that's like special status.
Yep, that's the only one I ever had the show and the after party combined into one fucking 5-hour long show, and I'm like, I can't do that, so I started separating them after that.
Yeah, I like how you do that. That's cool.
Yeah. So what I will do, Laura, is I will send you a brand new link. I'm going to take a bit of a break, go have a quick pee, and throw them. Can I have one too? In the cooler. I don't know. I've only got a couple left in the weekend. But look at him. How dare you? Calm your tits there, frustrated atheists. But anyways, yeah. Okay, sorry, moobs.
Moobs. Call them what you want to call them.
Call them what you want. Yeah, but we'll definitely jump into the after party. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Yeah, and as Inquisitive Quandary has just said, if you do like the intro and outro music, you can check out my SoundCloud to find all of our music there.
Very cool.
There you go. So, and I don't know why it ended up using my name in the link, but whatever. Because the band's name is Liminus, which is ancient Latin for on the threshold. So,
ooh, nice. That's deep.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of a story behind that.
Oh, nice.
We were going to be sued by a band called Threshold, so I had to look for a new name.
Good time.
Right. No, I may not take a pee, says Frustrated Atheist. Fine. I'm taking one of yours then. All right. Okay, so
there you go.
What we're going to do now is jump into that after party. So I'm going to let you guys go. But before I do that, a couple of announcements. The very first episode of Nonprofits that I was involved with aired on Sunday between Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience. Don't forget that Randolph and I are also starting up our own call-in show called True North Talk. It'll be coming up in the new year, so look for that. You can go sub to the channel so you'll be well aware when we do go live. Also, don't forget about my wonderful guests links below. You'll find the Twitter and YouTube link so you can stalk her. I mean, follow her there and below.
As long as it's only on YouTube.
Careful though, guys.
I'll just ignore you.
she knows like kung fu stuff and stuff, so you don't want to get too. But yeah. Anyway, but and thank you to all my patrons. It's because of you guys that this show just keeps on improving. Where I get like cool stuff like this fuzzy little whatever it is and fuzzy cover whatever it is. I don't even. Oh look, now I'm into ASMR. Hi there. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Until next time, like I always say at the end of these shows, with the whole COVID-19 thing going on, remember to be well and be safe, and above all, be kind. And like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.